Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Owen O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here again.
So nice to have you once more.
Thank you.
So in this episode, we're going to be talking about a serious issue for once, and that's going to be addictions.
Yes.
And before we get started, I do have a disclaimer.
Yeah.
That at Starzology, we share astrological insights for education and personal reflection only. We do not provide medical, psychological, or therapeutic advice, and nothing on this podcast should be interpreted as professional health guidance.
100%. Yeah.
So that is our disclaimer on this, which is actually coming from our legal department, which is fine.
Yes.
And we do urge anyone who may be struggling with addiction to seek help from qualified health professionals as a first step.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're listening with children and you don't want them to know that drugs exist, then please pause this and listen to it another time.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. Yeah. So in general, the definition of addiction is actually a pattern of repeated behavior or substance use that becomes difficult to control despite harmful consequences.
Yeah.
So, although we may be addicted to chocolate, it's not necessarily going to be a bad thing, but other substances and products are.
Yeah. And there are things that most people think of as fairly benign, sexual activity or, the occasional drink, whatever, coffee and
yes, coffee.
Exactly. Don't take away my coffee. My God. But they can be problems for some people.
Yes.
So even the things that we think are benign and yet even maybe life affirming that add flavor and spark to our lives, they in excess can be problems for other people.
That's right.
And then there are things that we generally would think of as harmful in every situation. And why would anyone do that, et cetera, et cetera. And yet there are people who surprisingly manage to do them in moderation.
Right.
And it's okay. I'm thinking cocaine, heroin, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
There are people, there are doctors actually who have partook in moderation with very high grade quality of not the street version of anything, but it's just fine. There's a set and setting, which is something that, the great Timothy Leary said, set and setting is everything. If you do a certain drug in a certain situation, you can have a positive experience or a negative experience, depending on what you bring to the situation or what you are experiencing in that state, in that altered state. And if you are drinking to forget or drinking to numb the psychic pain, or if you are drinking in a binge situation where you can't stop and then the negative effects are overwhelmingly obvious to everyone but you, and everyone says, boy, you become when you drink and you ignore that advice and continue, like that's where it becomes something that is recreational to addiction, where I think everyone who's listening has probably had an experience where you have altered your consciousness for some purpose and you have enjoyed yourself and it's wonderful. And then we've all probably had a situation where we've, imbibed too much of whatever. And the next day you're like, oh my God, why? And you question yourself. And the difference between recreation and addiction, or the pursuit of mind expansion, and addiction, is if you have negative effects over and over and you cannot stop doing that thing, that's addiction. Right. So we are not here to judge and to say this chemical or that, thing is bad. There's no bad chemicals. There's no bad, plants.
Yes.
But it's all about how you use it and what effect it has and how you deal with that effect. And whether you lean into the positive effects and you build a community, or you build communication with people, or you use some kind of medicine, plant, chemical, whatever, in order to become a better person, which is certainly possible. I think there are definitely situations where have a couple of drinks and you are a bit more socially not awkward. And that's a positive thing because your friendships and your relationships and your ability to speak and be comfortable in those situations is enhanced. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing for you. That's a good thing for everyone around you. And then we all know that maybe 1 or 2 drinks more and it can become
Things change.
a negative thing. And if you ignore those negative signs and go, it's fine, and just continue to have like several more of whatever it is in every situation, despite the indicators that you are now making people uncomfortable, that you yourself are becoming uncomfortable, and that the next day you either feel terrible and guilty or don't remember what happened, and you ignore that, that is when it becomes an addiction.
Yes.
So that's my little personal definition.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're talking about particularly things that one would drink or take or inject or whatever. That is your choice to do.
For sure.
And
or gambling or
yeah. Well, there's those as well, right? And this is what we also want to say is that addictions are not necessarily just drug related. Particularly, we do have gambling addictions, which is something that and then you've got things like shopping addictions and spending all the family's money on the because you can't stop shopping
or stealing, even shoplifting. That becomes an addiction.
Yeah,
and it's whether you need the thing or not. It's you're addicted to the danger.
Yes.
Or
the thrill.
Yeah. And extreme sports, that can become an addiction as well. You're addicted to putting your life in danger in certain ways.
Right.
Yeah. And it's maybe not even the exhilarate. Well, I mean, it is the exhilaration, but it could also be the fact that you're on the threshold of death.
Yes.
And that becomes the thing that you're addicted to is this. Yeah. So there's a little Pluto in there. I mean, we're feeling like we're leaning towards Neptune, but there's definitely some Pluto.
Absolutely.
That life-death urge, that Freudian
danger.
Yes, exactly. Thanatos. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because in general, the planet that is associated with addiction more than others is Neptune.
Yep. Yeah. Because it blurs the boundaries between reality and fantasy.
And it represents escapism, which is what this is all about.
Yes.
Escaping from the life that you're living, if it's just a humdrum life and you do whatever it is you do, and something changes and suddenly you can cope, or
things are just a little bit more interesting or a little more beautiful. Mm-hmm. You have a couple of drinks and that person across the bar that seems so boring and he's been hitting on me or making
now he's
overtures. Oh, now he's okay. The beer goggles or whatever. Like that's right.
Yeah,
that's alcohol. That's it's not addiction, but it's enhancement. That's why if it were all negative, none of us would do these things. It would be like, oh, that's a poison. Well, the difference between a drug and a poison is the dosage. Mm-hmm. That is all the difference. Anything can be taken in moderation and be fine.
Yes.
But
so here's the thing, we all have a Neptune in our chart.
Yes.
Therefore, if Neptune is the planet that rules addiction, we all have potential for addictive behavior.
For sure.
And I think that the position that the Neptune is in by sign, well, it's complex by its sign, house and placement aspects to it, is likely to indicate the type of addiction's propensity that one would have. Mm-hmm. Now, by the same token, 2 people born on the same day, and you may get, and of course, millions of people are born on the same day, but you may get one person who actually becomes highly addictive to something or other with the exact same chart and someone who does not.
Right.
And they take that Neptune in a different way into art or whatever it is or music or dance or something like that, or the aesthetics of life. And then you've got the guy who doesn't.
And ends up just laying in the street and can't function.
So you do have that. And that is free will. Actually.
Free will. And also your family of origin. What support system do you have? Did you grow up and feel loved? Did you,
did they drink at home?
Right. And when you did, try to be honest about your urges or whatever, were you met with acceptance and approval and support, or was there this negative feedback that you then felt the need to rebel against? If I'm told I can't do that, I want to do that secretly, and then there's that aspect.
Yes, this is it, because and we're not just even talking about street drugs here. We're talking about regular, like painkillers and things that you may be prescribed, prescription drugs that you are prescribed for whatever reason. That too is represented by Neptune.
Yep, absolutely. Because it's consciousness altering.
Yes.
Yeah.
And anything that you take to escape whatever it is that you're within
Right.
is represented by Neptune. So it really does come down to where is Neptune?
Yeah.
Which house is it in? Which sign is it in? Because it's in a sign for 14 years?
Yeah.
Right?
12 years. Yeah.
12, 14 years. And it will be in a different house for you particularly, which is an indication of where the addictive behavior will occur.
Right.
And then any aspects to Neptune, particularly conjunctions, are likely to indicate the type of entryway.
Yeah.
The gateway, if you will.
And just to be really clear, this isn't something where you are going to be able to look at someone's chart and say, oh, they've got Neptune here or there, and they've got bad aspects, and that means they will have an addictive personality. No, that is absolutely not what we're saying. What we're saying is that after the fact, you can look back and you can see, oh, this is a tendency. And that tendency might express itself in a completely different way. It might express itself in art or in music or in the desire to be on the stage and to lose themselves in a role. Like that is a very much like I've got Neptune square my sun and Neptune square my Mercury.
Right.
So I make my living writing and crafting other people's words and editing and doing art. And yes, I like to drink and I like to have some coffee and whatever else that I'm not going to talk about on the podcast. But
oh, and surely.
Hello. But exactly. Another person could have been born the same day as me and they could be, out on the street doing whatever. And you'd be like, oh, well, they do have Neptune square all these things. And so it's not something prescriptive where you can say, oh, well, that's why this. But
this episode is brought to you by New Moon Wishing, a self-care guidebook for wishful thinkers. Please see the link in the show notes. You can't look at a chart and say, oh, she's got the Sun square Neptune, she's going to be. No.
It's just as much as you can't look at someone's chart and say, oh, they're going to be unfaithful. Well, no, but maybe they're a flirt, or maybe they, like to fantasize about whatever, or maybe they'll be a romance novel writer, or, it's Neptune is about expansion of the mind and glamour and illusion and the fact that life is sometimes dreary and pedestrian, and we need beauty in our lives, and we need grace, and sometimes that just doesn't come about through the normal act of getting up and going to work and coming home and making dinner and going to bed. And we as humans have had all these substances and all of these ways of enhancing our lives. And I would include absolutely art in these, art and music and the theater and anything that gets us out of ourselves. But that can also have a dark side, because sometimes it's like a fetish. The fetish becomes the pursuit, as opposed to, oh, I like the way, you look in that outfit, versus, now I'm obsessed with shoes and I need to, whatever. Right.
Yes.
And so drugs, yes, Neptune, but also it depends on what drug. Alcohol is very Neptunian. I would say the narcotics are very Neptunian because they numb the pain and they put a glaze over reality. But there are tons of drugs that are not Neptunian. There are cocaine and caffeine and stimulants that are very much about Mars and about Mercury. People who take Adderall to get through their exam. And the flip side of Adderall is methamphetamine. And these are the same drug, essentially. You are prescribing. One is an incredibly highly prescribed drug that helps people to focus if they have ADHD, or if they're trying to get through their
Ritalin.
Or Ritalin, same thing. Yeah, it's trying to get through their exams. And the other, which is the same chemical composition, is one of the most vilified drugs of all time. Because why? Because, it's set and setting. It's set and setting. And it's also the person who's taking it. Because some people can handle just doing a little bit of this or that on the weekend, or a tiny bit of this or that in a social situation, or a tiny bit of this or that to finish their paper. And then some people can do the same exact thing, and all of a sudden it's a downward spiral. So, yeah. And honestly, as astrologers, we cannot see that in the chart. We cannot see preemptively, oh, you're going to clearly have a problem with cocaine, or you're going to
you can't do that.
Don't ever smoke a joint because you will become addicted and it'll be, you can't say that just looking at the chart. But what we can do is say, okay, you clearly have the predisposition to see things in a glamorous way, to want to enhance life and to want to alter your senses. And who doesn't really? But I mean, some people can get through their entire life and never have a drink and never want to, and that's absolutely fine. But I would say probably the majority of people across the world have done some kind of thing, whether it's just having a drink or having a coffee or having a tea. And the difference is, does that make your life unmanageable? Does that make your relationships unmanageable? Are you enhancing your life, enhancing your creative output, making your relationships better by doing these substances? Or is this something where it is triggering a negative spiral? And there are absolutely people who should not do any substances because there's a brain chemistry thing that is triggered by certain substances that is unpredictable. And that's really important to note that, not everyone can have a drink, just try a little puff, whatever. It's easy to say that, but everyone's brain is different. And one person could maybe have a few drinks every single day and not be considered an alcoholic. And another person who, I've known at least one person in my life who was an extreme alcoholic. And the way that I knew the difference between this person and every other person I know who could just go to the bar and have a few drinks every day and be social and nice is that the minute this guy had a couple of drinks, he would become mean and belligerent and paranoid. And I was shocked because I had never seen this before. But when I first met him, he was in a sober phase, and he had been working in the film industry, and he would go for 6 months, 9 months, never having a drink and being the most professional person ever. But he would always apologize. He was always very apologetic about, and I never understood why. I was just like, wow, he's so nice, whatever. And then he was on a drinking binge, and we didn't hear from him for months. And then when we finally heard from him, there would be these long phone conversations where he was extremely belligerent and paranoid. And then he would apologize after that. And we were like, oh, okay.
Right.
He was apologizing before the fact because he knew it was only a matter of time before he would relapse, and then we would see that side of him. But that's a very rare personality. But it is a real thing. And so some people can have whatever he was doing, some people can do that and have no bad effects. But then that person, it's like they can't touch anything. And it just changes them. So
I know we've been giving Neptune a bad rap for addiction, but there's also other planets that can contribute to these things. And one of them is Pluto.
Yes, definitely.
And Pluto is the planet of transformation, death, and birth. And it can be critical to certain activities.
Yeah. And it's also the planet of authority and control and the underworld, but also pharmaceutical companies and the mafia and all sorts of
dark.
The dark underground forces that sort of run the world underground. It's that underground that network of I remember this wonderful book I read several years ago called McMafia, and it was about all the different underground trades that run the world secretly, these networks of not only drugs but sex trafficking and gambling and now of course there's this huge AI layer over it and computer hackers and things like that steal massive amounts of money or the
romance scammers as well.
Exactly. So and those can be addictive as well, because what they do is anyone who is trading in these things, they will prey on the weaknesses and the addictive personalities of people who, may not have a normal outlet for love or for self-expression or whatever. And they're very susceptible to a get rich quick scheme or a romance scheme where it's they've met a stranger and, there's a connection and I feel seen for the first time and blah, blah. And then really all they want is your money. And it's this long con. con
The
artists.
long con.
The
Yeah,
long
that is
con.
exactly it.
There's a Neptunian aspect because they're pulling the wool over your eyes and they're creating an illusion and a glamour. But at the same time, it's very dark and it's very organized.
Yes.
And these people aren't even the actual scammers themselves. I did a bit of research in this in one of my previous day jobs. And these romance scammers are often, it's actually incredibly sad. There's, if you picture like a server, kind of farm or like a kind of like a call center of people who, the call center can be like a lovely thing where it's just the person who answers your tech support thing when you're calling about your phone, and they're, located in like Eastern Europe or, Asia somewhere, and you get the call and you're like, oh, okay, well, and they're not like the actual company. It's like this third party, but there's also these rooms full of people who are making very little money, and they're embroiled in these scams, and they actually are forced to make all these calls until they find someone who's vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so you can't even blame them and say, oh, this is an evil person, this is a terrible, like this I mean,
they too themselves are victims.
They themselves are victims. They're almost being trafficked into creating these terrible criminal enterprises.
Yes.
And it's probably just this poor like 20-year-old in this like destitute country, and he's probably just trying to put food on his family's plates. And so yeah, that's very Plutonian. The network of addiction and the network of preying on other people's weaknesses and addictions. And
yes.
Yeah.
If today's topic sparked questions about your own chart, you can book a private consultation with me, Alison, at Starzology.com. In a one-to-one session, we will look at your natal chart and current transits with clarity and structure, so you leave with real insights and practical timing. Click the link in the show notes to book your session, and if you are ready for deeper answers, I would love to work with you. And this is it. I don't think we can just say that astrologically there's one or even two planets that really rule addiction. Depending on the actual addiction itself, like smoking, for instance, smoking cigarettes is very mercurial in Neptune because there's oral fixation and you're fiddling with your hands
and it's fast.
Fiddling.
It's like it takes 2 minutes to go through a cigarette, so it's fast. It's that fast hit.
And back in the 60s and 70s, we all smoked.
Oh, it was a social thing. I was the only non-smoker working in restaurants.
Wow.
When I worked in restaurants, and all of my friends, all my coworkers, they'd be like, we're going to go for a smoke. Can you watch the floor? And I would be like left on the floor watching, all the tables, and all my coworkers would be out smoking.
Yeah.
And I never started, thank God.
But you never smoked? Oh, no. I smoked definitely back in the 70s and 80s.
I mean, I'm not saying I was an angel. I did things, but I didn't ever get addicted to cigarettes, thank God.
And talking about it, my doctor, my actual gynecologist who delivered my first child 40 years ago, he used to smoke in his office. So okay, we'll and he'd put it down and do the inspection and come back. And
wow.
And it was just the done thing.
Sure, yeah. It was a quick time.
And you didn't think a thing about it.
Right, because everyone smoked.
Well, we used to be able to smoke on airplanes, but not anymore.
The smoking section, can you imagine? Oh, let's go back in the smoking section of the plane.
That's why airplanes have got ashtrays, but I mean, or cars used to.
Yeah.
But we've clamped down, we've realized, and there are, I don't know, we need a watchdog on everything, but they reckon that, like with alcohol, that if alcohol was discovered today, it would be immediately banned. It wouldn't go out into the streets. It's because it was made 100-odd years ago, and with people making thousands of years ago.
Yeah, and because it's got such a strong effect. Anything they discover now that has that much of a strong effect, they're like, oh my God, we need to regulate this right away.
Yes.
But alcohol, it just got grandfathered in because it's been around forever.
But they're saying now that there's less drinkers, less wine, but business people are just stepping back from it. The Gen Zs are just not drinking. They're not smoking. They're just not doing it. And I don't know if it's a good thing or not. It's not my place to comment on society, but it was different when we were young.
But it's not that they're free of addictions. They're
that's a good point.
Because they are addicted to their phones.
Phone addiction.
Vapes too, but they're addicted to their phones. They're also addicted to. There's a huge gambling thing now, like these micro transactions. games, like the video games that this entire generation,
and they gamify everything, don't they?
Gamify everything. And then there's these microtransactions where as soon as they have your account, they're like, you're just dripping a tiny bit of like income into all these apps constantly. And you think that's not an addiction? 100% it's an addiction. Even the dating apps are a bit of an addiction, because if you are, no offense to anyone, like just, please take everything we're saying with a grain of salt, please. But if you're seeing, just person after person after person, you're swiping left and left and left or right, whichever it is that you're, you're like, nope. Oh yes. And there's like a hit of dopamine every time, because it's like a game. It's like a video game. You don't want to stop. It's like you don't want to stop scrolling. Oh, one more story, one more video, one more person.
One more like.
Yeah, like. You're scrolling past them and you say, oh, like it's just like being on a slot machine at the gambling.
Yes.
It's like, oh, well, if I don't swipe one more time, maybe that one guy is like, just 2 swipes away.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
And you're just looking, you're waiting for that one hit of dopamine. You're like, oh, that guy. Yes. Okay. I'll swipe right on him or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And the apps know that. They've gamified addiction.
Yeah, and it's even social media is the same thing with the likes on Instagram.
As simple as Instagram and Facebook, they absolutely are banking on addiction in a very real way. I've read a couple of audiobooks, listened to whatever you want to call it, about the actual people who design the games or the social media platforms. And 100% they know that they're making it more addictive. They know that they're just feeding into that dopamine hit that you get when there's something that's uncertain. It's about uncertainty. And then it's like, oh, will it? Won't it? Like, oh, it's a gambling thing.
Yeah.
And the stock market is the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these things are addictions. It's not just chemicals.
And with Neptune now in Aries, it's actually, people are becoming more aware of it.
Yeah.
This business of the social media one, which is very subtle, but you don't realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned before, in September, I went on a social media detox, and I offloaded them off my devices.
Yeah.
And I've actually never gone back.
Oh, wow.
But I would wake up first thing and check, did I get a like on that image?
Yeah.
And you don't realize you're even doing it.
Right.
So addictive behavior can happen to anyone at any time.
Yeah.
But in your chart, which is what we're trying to get to, is that I do think that you need to look at the Neptune complex to see what's actually there.
Yeah.
And if Neptune's standing alone strong, that's great.
Yeah.
If you've got Pisces rising, you've got Neptune as your chart ruler, which does strengthen Neptune.
Yeah.
But apart from that, whatever aspects you have, you said you've got the Sun square Neptune, so you are aware of whatever it is you're doing, which is one thing, Arwen.
Yeah.
Whereas I have the Moon conjoined my Neptune, and it's got to be overeating, I would say, for me personally. It's like they're just chomping away for no particular reason.
Right.
And
for an emotional reason, maybe.
Well, yes.
Right? Because
that's a good one.
Emotional eating, a lot of people. I mean, yeah, that's one of the major things that people say is that it's comfort food, right?
Comfort food, exactly.
Yeah.
And the key to overcoming all of this is awareness.
100%. Yes. And we were just talking about the different planets, and when you said so Venus, think about what's the word? Plastic surgery addiction.
Ooh, yes.
Right? I will not watch one of those shows, but I know they exist. And the shows where, people are addicted and they can't stop. They get 1 or 2 and then they're just like, oh, well, it's not perfect. And they're like, and they've got like 17 different nose jobs and they're like, just stop. Like, oh my God, you were good like 12 episodes, 12 procedures ago, but they can't see it. And it's the same thing with eating disorders. It's like either you're, overeating for comfort, or you're addicted to this perfection image, and so you're not eating correctly, or you're purging, or taking diet pills or whatever, because you're chasing after this image, this Neptunian image,
illusion
that is illusion.
Yes, that's society.
That's society for sure. Yes, but not everyone is susceptible to that. Yes. We all live in the same society, but not everyone is going down that road of chasing this addictive thing. I mean, some people can just, kind of ignore it and be like, I look like what I look like. Or some people will just work out and be like, okay, well, this is as good as it's going to get. Yeah. And some people they can't stop. They can't stop themselves from, I need to be just this much better. I need to, I need to have this little thing tucked, or I need to, just shave this off and
tattoo those eyebrows in or something.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think too that if we look at our main planet, which is Neptune, that wherever Neptune is in your chart, if you get strong transits to that Neptune position, that is likely to be a potential for addictive behavior to begin.
Yeah.
And whilst the transit is in place, say for instance, you get Uranus conjoined your Neptune, unexpectedly out of the blue, you are likely to get some kind of addiction behavior because Uranus is there.
Yeah.
And whilst it's in orb, that will continue. But then as Uranus moves away, it too shall pass. So even though transits come and go in progressions as well, or from multiple planets, let's face it, to your Neptune, which is your planet of addiction, that is likely to be triggered, and something will pop up, and it could last for 6 to 8 months or a year on some of these planets, or 18 months with Pluto, and but then it will pass, and it will pass away.
Yeah.
So we all throughout our lives will be getting transits to our Neptune.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about the Sun and Mercury and that. I'm talking about the bigger heavy hitters, where they're coming and they're staying for a while, making themselves comfortable.
Right. So you have a period of weakness, a dark valley of the soul, or a dark, whatever they call it, right?
Yeah. So I think too that I want to give people hope too, that if something has cropped up, it is likely to crop down as well, if you will.
100%. Look for those valleys and know when you are at your weakest, and shore up your support system and your whatever personal strength you have, and be aware that that's coming.
Yes.
Or people around you.
Yeah. And as an astrologer point of view, that if people come to you and they're saying, I've got a problem, I'm addicted to X, Y, Z, or this is turning into a problem, you can then at least say there's light at the end of the tunnel, because it will pass if it's a transit.
Yeah.
Which it generally is.
Right.
That comes to, and by the same token, when Neptune is transiting across something in your chart, say it conjoins your sun or it conjoins your ascendant, you are likely then to be exposed to perhaps addictive behavior that you think nothing of to start with.
Right.
And then you wake up and you think, hang on a minute.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying this anymore. That's right.
And you also get it with wherever your Neptune is placed, that people whose sun is on the same position as your Neptune will trigger addictive behaviors in you.
Interesting.
So wherever your Neptune is, for instance, if it's at 4 Sagittarius, anyone with a sun at that position will straight away trigger that and say, "Oh, have another drink," or "Why don't you have some of this?" or "Why don't you try that?" And you get that too. So you need to watch out for people who are actually triggering your chart just automatically. And it's not just the sun, it will be the other planets too.
Of course. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And also see that you're doing it to other people. If your sun is on their Neptune, maybe you are the catalyst.
You're the one saying, have another drink.
Yeah.
Come on, why are you leaving?
It's like your mother-in-law saying, have another slice of chocolate cake. Why don't you eat my food?
Yes.
You're making me cry. And they are putting you into it to say, okay, I'll eat your chocolate cake. But you had no intention of eating, and you haven't eaten chocolate for a month.
100%.
But they will trigger it for you. So watch out for that as well.
Absolutely. And this is why it's not just about chemicals, because I think just telling that story, we can all kind of imagine a time where someone was triggering something that we were trying to be good. And maybe it was food, maybe it was drinks, maybe it was chemicals, or maybe it was someone flirting with us in just that way where you're like,
unprotected sex, just this once.
Yeah, or you're married, you're working and you're staying late at the office party, and that cute guy is just like, come on, just stay for another
no
whatever.
one will know.
Like your husband can pick you up later. Like,
so be aware of who you're spending your time with. Where your triggers are too.
And I mean, obviously those trigger people they're going to be especially attractive. It's not, they're not going to have
they're going to glamour you. That's the thing. And it might be people in your own family. It might be your kids. It might be your parents. It might be your siblings.
Or someone you admire, someone at work who you are, you think of like, oh, that's like the cool person at work, or the, cool person at school.
And this is not the first thing we look at it astrologically. We don't say, where's my Neptune? Where's yours? What's triggering my Neptune from your chart? Because I can't be living with it. But you need to be doing that.
Yeah. Well, especially if you feel like, and here's this is such a gray area. It's Neptune is all about gray areas, right? Because if you're looking at your Neptune and going, oh no, this other person has their sun, blah, 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 blah. But you might think of that person as your idol. They could be
your guru, your muse.
and that could be an amazing thing. It doesn't have to be triggering addiction. It's just about whether or not that's something that's a problem for you. And that's all about that personal agency, where it's like, okay, if they're triggering Neptune, what does that mean for you? Does that mean for you that this is someone you admire, that you glamorize, that you think, oh my God, they can do no wrong. They are the pinnacle of creativity, blah, blah, blah. Fine. Great. That's awesome. It could also, with the very same aspect to your Neptune, be someone who is leading you down the garden path of like, oh, just come on, one more, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then next thing you know, you're doing things you normally wouldn't, and you feel bad about yourself. That's the key, is to know how it's affecting you personally, and not just be like, oh my God, it's this person. They're like diabolical. Well, no, maybe they're just themselves, and that the way it affects you is the negative thing.
Yeah.
So it's all about self-awareness and knowing your limitations, and knowing what kinds of things are affecting you negatively, but also maybe which things are eye-opening and wonderful. Because things that can be addictive can also,
be
on that
good
flip
things.
side, be wonderful and mind expanding. And we want experiences that get us out of our comfort zone.
Yes.
You know?
True.
It's a very, it's complicated.
It's a complicated subject. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been talking a little bit about how astrology shows up, how addiction shows up in an astrology chart, and how you can see whether people are making you addictive in some way, or you are making them addictive in some way by the connections to your Neptune, and also, well, the other planets too, but Neptune in general. But I do want to say that if you know someone who actually needs help, I think it is you need to step up and say something, do something, and try and help people. Maybe they don't even realize they need help. They need to talk to somebody. And I think there are many programs out there and people you can reach out to. Certainly here in Canada, there definitely are. And I'll put some links below this podcast to Canadian support systems for addictive behavior. Yeah. But even if you're listening to this quietly and you've got some kids or something that are needing help, the point is to get help for them, reach out and do something about it. Don't just be a bystander to this. That's what I want to say.
We know it's hard. I mean, I've had friends who have worked in addiction services, and one of them is a Pisces, and it's hard. It's crazy hard. Like, she got to the point where she was literally drinking every day just to get through work.
Right. Because
the people she was helping were so far gone. And we know it's hard.
Yeah.
It's nothing to be taken light of, but yet it can be gotten through. It can be ameliorated by help and support.
Yes.
And if you have anyone obviously in your family,
And we do feel that people who listen to our podcast are a little bit more perhaps enhanced or aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And we do urge you not to be a bystander, to actually do something, to speak up and offer a help or to listen.
Yeah.
And help people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Great.
Yeah.
So that's great. In this episode, we've been talking about addiction and how it shows up in an astrology chart. We've mainly focused on Neptune, although we have touched on how the other planets also can bring these addictive behaviors forward. If you have found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with anybody who'd be interested. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a like. If you're listening to us on YouTube, give us a comment and give us a like. We do appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribed. Additionally, make sure that you're getting the Stars Life Starzology astrology newsletter, and you can sign up at starzology.com/newsletter. That comes out every Sunday with some opinion and some links to our latest podcast. Additionally, make sure you're getting Arwen's newsletter, and you can find Arwen
I'm at mspink.net, MSPINK, and I send out my weekly newsletter every Saturday.
Sounds great. Okay, so thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.